The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the dark void between stars. It was bigger than most moons and sparkled with thousands of lights from ships coming and going. Today was different, though. Today, representatives from hundreds of alien species had gathered for something that would change everything. Inside the giant meeting hall, creatures of all shapes and sizes filled the seats. Some looked like walking crystals, others had tentacles instead of arms, and many had colors that humans had never seen before. The air buzzed with nervous energy as translators worked overtime to help everyone understand each other. At the front of the hall stood Ambassador Veltar, a being made of what looked like living purple crystal. His body pulsed with angry light as he raised his arm to get everyone's attention. Behind him, 12 different alien leaders stood together, something that had never happened before in over 2,000 years. People of the galaxy, Veltar's voice boomed through the speakers. We have called this meeting to address a growing threat to our peaceful way of life. In the human section, a small group of people sat quietly. Ambassador Hannah Kim, a woman in her 50s with graying hair, listened carefully. Next to her sat Admiral Jinho Park, whose weathered face showed no emotion. Commander Mira Lee checked something on her tablet and shook her head slightly. For too long, Veltar continued, the humans have grown bold. They expand into new systems without asking permission. They build ships that are too powerful for a peaceful species. They act like they own the galaxy that belongs to all of us. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some aliens nodded in agreement, while others looked confused. The human section remained completely silent. Veltar's crystal body glowed brighter. The Velcari warrior priests have joined with the Sirathi technology masters, the Keth Hive Mind, and 9 other great civilizations. Together, we represent a military might of over 3 trillion beings. He paused dramatically, letting his words sink in. We hereby declare war on the human species. They will learn humility or they will learn destruction. The hall erupted in shocked gasps and nervous chatter. Some aliens stood up in surprise, while others whispered frantically to their neighbors. The translators worked desperately to keep up with the chaos of different languages. Then something unexpected happened. A sound started from the human section. Quiet at first, then growing louder. It was laughter. Not the nervous kind that people make when they're scared, but real, genuine laughter. Ambassador Hannah Kim was laughing so hard that tears formed in her eyes. Admiral Jinho Park covered his mouth with his hand, his shoulders shaking with silent chuckles. Commander Mira Lee tried to stay professional, but even she could not stop a smile from spreading across her face. One by one, every human in the section began to laugh. The sound echoed through the huge hall, mixing strangely with the confused murmurs of the aliens. Silence! Veltar roared, his crystal body now glowing white-hot with rage. How dare you mock our declaration of war? But the humans only laughed harder. Hannah Kim wiped her eyes and stood up slowly. The laughter gradually died down as she walked to the speaking platform, but small chuckles still escaped from the human section. Honored delegates, Hannah said, her voice carrying easily to the hall despite her small size. We apologize for our reaction. It was not meant as an insult. Then explain yourselves, demanded General Kexhal Sirathi, his metallic voice screeching through the speakers. Hannah looked around the hall at all the angry alien faces. Her expression grew serious, though a sad smile still played at the corners of her mouth. We laugh because you have reminded us of something we had hoped to forget forever. The hall fell completely silent. Even the background hum of the station systems seemed to quiet down. You see, Hannah continued, humans have not fought a real war in over 2,000 years. We had almost convinced ourselves that we had outgrown our nature, that we had become civilized, peaceful. Admiral Jinho Park stood up in the human section. His voice was quiet, but somehow everyone could hear him clearly. Ma'am, should I send a recall orders? Hannah closed her eyes for a moment, as if the weight of the galaxy had suddenly fallen on her shoulders. When she opened them again, they held a sadness that made several nearby aliens step back involuntarily. Yes, Admiral. Send the recall. All ships, all stations, all colonies. Activation code Omega. The Admiral pressed something on his wrist device. In that moment, across thousands of star systems, messages began reaching human ships and settlements. Messages that had not been sent for over 2 millennia. Honored delegates, Hannah said, turning back to face the alien coalition. You just ended the longest period of peace in galactic history. We hope you understand what that means. Veltar's crystal body flickered uncertainly. Are you threatening us human? Hannah Kim's smile was sad and tired. No, Ambassador Veltar. We are mourning. Because in 47 days, this war will be over, and you will understand why we chose peace for so very long. She walked back to her seat as confused whispers filled the hall. The other humans followed her quietly, their laughter completely gone now, replaced by something far more frightening. The calm silence of a sleeping giant that had just been awakened. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours of the declaration, every species knew that war had been declared on humanity. The alien coalition felt proud and strong. They believed the humans were just bluffing with their strange laughter and mysterious words. Commander Zektios of the Velcari fleet rubbed his 4 hands together with excitement. Finally, we will teach these arrogant humans their place, he told his officers. Ready our battleships. We have millions of them, and the humans have only thousands. On the crystal world of Sirith Prime, General Kexal activated massive factories that had been sleeping for centuries. Robot workers began building weapons and ships at incredible speed. The humans think they are clever, he said to his metal advisors. But we have technology they cannot imagine. The Keth hive mind was even more confident. Through their mental connection, all billion Keth drones thought the same thing at once. The humans are few, we are many. Victory is certain. But in human space, something very different was happening. On Earth, in a small apartment in Seoul, 90-year-old Professor Dae Choi sat in his favorite chair reading the news. His granddaughter Sue found him there an hour later, staring at the wall with empty eyes. "Grandfather, what's wrong?" she asked. Dae looked at her with the saddest expression she had ever seen. "Child, I had hoped you would never have to see this. I had hoped the stories would stay just stories." "What stories, grandfather?" Dae stood up slowly and walked to an old chest in the corner. He pulled out a metal box that Sue had never seen before. Inside were medals, photographs, and documents that looked ancient. "These are from the last war. Little one, the war your great-great-grandfather fought. The war we promised would never happen again." Meanwhile, on the mining colony of New Busan, factory manager Gene Lim received a message that made his hands shake. The message had only 2 words, Code Omega. Gene had worked in civilian factories his whole life, making things like computers and kitchen appliances. But now, as he entered the special codes into his factory's main computer, everything changed. The production line stopped making refrigerators and started making something else. Something that Jin's grandfather had built during the last war, but that Gene had hoped never to see. The machines worked quickly and quietly, as if they remembered exactly what to do. "Sir," his assistant Quan said nervously, "what are we making now?" Gene watched the first completed item roll off the production line. It looked simple, like a small metal box. But Gene knew what it really was, a weapon component that could destroy an entire city. "We're making the things that end wars quickly," Gene said quietly. Across human space, similar scenes played out on every world and station. On the agricultural planet New Jeju, farmer Mira turned her crop harvesting machines into mobile factories. On the research station orbiting Neptune, scientist Arya activated laboratory equipment that had gathered dust for decades. But the most dramatic change happened in the human military. Admiral Jinho Park stood in the command center of Earth's main military base. Around him, officers who had spent their careers doing rescue missions and exploration suddenly found themselves preparing for something none of them had ever experienced. Actual war. "Ma'am," said Captain Narisong, "I don't understand these orders. Why are we recalling every single ship, even the hospital ships and science vessels?" Admiral Park looked at the star map showing thousands of human ships across the galaxy, all turning around and heading home. "Because, Captain, those aren't really hospital ships and science vessels. They never were." "What do you mean, sir?" The Admiral pulled up a file on his computer. It showed the technical plans for a typical human medical frigate. But as the display changed, Captain Song gasped. Hidden inside the medical equipment were weapon systems more powerful than most species' warships. Every ship we've built for the last 2,000 years has been designed to fight, Captain. We just disguise them as peaceful vessels because we hope we'd never need their real capabilities. Captain Song stared at the plans in shock. But, sir, that means our exploration ships can level planets if necessary. Yes, and our cargo haulers are actually troop transports carrying enough firepower to conquer solar systems, and our communications satellites. Admiral Park's expression grew even more serious. Our weapon platforms that have been watching every species in the galaxy for 2 millennia. We know the location of every alien ship, every base, every leader. The room fell silent as the officers realized what this meant. Sir, Captain Song asked in a whisper, if we've always been this powerful, why do we pretend to be weak? Admiral Park looked out the window at Earth's peaceful blue skies. Because we remember what we're capable of when we stop pretending, and we hope we'd never have to show anyone else. Meanwhile, the alien coalition continued building their fleets, completely unaware of what was happening in human space. They saw the recall of human ships as a sign of fear, not preparation. They had no idea that humanity's greatest strength had always been hidden in plain sight. They thought they were declaring war on a peaceful species that had grown soft over 2,000 years of prosperity. They were about to learn that human peace was never weakness. It was mercy. And their declaration of war had just convinced humanity to stop being merciful. 3 weeks had passed since the declaration of war, and the galaxy felt different. The alien coalition had expected panic from human worlds. They had expected desperate messages begging for peace. Instead, they got something that confused and worried them. Complete silence. On the border world of New Seoul, Governor Bora Kim received daily reports about alien fleets gathering just outside human space. Her advisors kept asking the same question, Governor, shouldn't we evacuate the civilians? Bora looked at the reports and shook her head. No, we stay. But ma'am, there are millions of enemy ships out there. Our world only has a few thousand people. Bora smiled in a way that made her advisors uncomfortable. Have you forgotten what world you're standing on? The advisors looked confused until Bora activated a hidden panel in her office wall. The panel showed a map of New Seoul, but not the map they knew. This map showed tunnels under every city, weapon installations hidden in the mountains, and shield generators disguised as power plants. New Seoul isn't just a farming colony, Bora explained. It's a fortress that's been pretending to be a farm for 2,000 years. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, something ancient was waking up. Captain Tae-won commanded what looked like a small cargo ship called the Peaceful Trader. For 30 years, he had carried supplies between human colonies, believing his ship was exactly what it appeared to be. Then the Code Omega message arrived, and everything changed. Computer, Tae said to his ship's artificial intelligence, activate Protocol 77 Alpha. Captain, the computer replied in its usual calm voice, are you certain? Protocol 77 Alpha has been dormant for 2,247 years. I'm certain. The ship began to change. Walls that Tae had thought were storage compartments slid away to reveal weapon systems. The cargo bay floor split open, showing rows of fighter ships that had been hidden underneath. The ship's outer hull shifted and rearranged itself, transforming from a fat, slow cargo vessel into something sleek and deadly. Welcome aboard the battleship Final Justice, the computer announced. All weapon systems are now online. Tae stared at his transformed ship in amazement. How long have you been hiding this from me? I was not hiding anything, Captain. You simply never had clearance to see what this ship really was until now. Similar transformations were happening across human space. The aliens watching from their spy ships could not understand what they were seeing. Human colonies that should have been defenseless suddenly sprouted massive weapon batteries. Peaceful space stations revealed themselves to be military fortresses. Cargo ships became warships, and research vessels turned into mobile battle platforms. Dr. Aria Yoon was working in her laboratory on the science station orbiting Jupiter when her assistant rushed in with frightening news. Doctor, the station's computer is asking for your authorization to activate something called Project Sleeping Giant. What should I tell it? Arya stopped her work and looked at her assistant with tired eyes. Tell it yes, and then pack your personal belongings. This laboratory is about to become something very different. Within hours, the peaceful research station had transformed into a massive weapons platform. The telescopes that had been studying distant stars were actually targeting systems that had been watching every ship in the galaxy. The communication arrays that sent scientific data were really command centers that could coordinate attacks across multiple star systems. Doctor, her assistant asked nervously, how long has this station been a weapon? Since the day it was built, Arya replied. We just called it a science station because that sounded nicer. On Earth, Admiral Jinho Park stood in the war room deep beneath the planet's surface. The room had been sealed for 2,000 years, but now it hummed with activity as officers worked at control panels that looked impossibly advanced. Admiral, reported Commander Shin Beck, all hidden fleets are reporting ready status. Hidden fleets? Asked a young officer who had never heard this term before. Admiral Park gestured to a massive display screen that showed the solar system. Suddenly, thousands of new contacts appeared on the screen, ships that had been invisible moments before. Lieutenant, the Admiral explained, did you really think we only had a few hundred ships that everyone could see? We've been building and hiding fleets in empty space, inside asteroids, and in the outer system for 2 millennia. What you're seeing now is less than 10% of our actual military strength. The young officer's face went pale. How many ships do we really have, sir? Enough, Admiral Park replied simply. But the most frightening transformation was happening to the humans themselves. In the capital city of New Tokyo, Ambassador Hannah Kim met with the Terran Council. These were people who had spent their entire lives working for peace, negotiating treaties, and solving problems with words instead of weapons. The recall is complete, Hannah reported. All our people know what's coming. The question is, are we ready to remember who we used to be? Council leader Myung Park, an elderly man who had dedicated his life to diplomacy, stood up slowly. I had hoped my grandchildren would never see this day. But since our enemies have forced our hand, we must do what needs to be done. He activated a communication system that reached every human in the galaxy. His voice was calm but carried a weight that made even veteran soldiers pause. My fellow humans, for 2,000 years we have chosen peace. We built a civilization based on exploration, discovery, and helping others. But now, someone has decided that our kindness is weakness. They are about to learn the difference. Across the galaxy, humans who had lived their entire lives as farmers, teachers, scientists, and artists began to remember something their ancestors had tried to forget. They remembered that humanity had not become peaceful because they were weak. They had chosen peace because they were too strong. The sleeping giant was awake, and it was very, very angry. The first battle happened at the edge of human space, near a small mining station called Hope's End. Commander Velcanos of the Valkyrie fleet had chosen this target because it looked weak and undefended. Intelligence reports said only 3 human ships were patrolling the area. This will be easy, Velcanos told his officers as they approached with 50 massive warships. We destroy these 3 little ships, then move on to their mining station. The humans will see that resistance is useless. The 3 human ships were spread out in a loose formation. The lead vessel was called the Peacekeeper, commanded by Captain Shin Beck. It looked like nothing special, just a standard patrol craft that might carry maybe 30 crew members. Attention human vessels, Velcanos broadcast. You are outnumbered 50-3. Surrender now and we will allow you to live as prisoners. Captain Shin's response was calm and polite. Thank you for the offer, Commander Velcanos. We decline. Then you will die for your foolish pride. Velcanos snarled, ordering his fleet to attack. The alien ships opened fire with weapons that could level cities. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between the fleets. The aliens expected to see the human ships explode instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships simply absorbed the attack. Their shields flared bright blue for a moment, then returned to normal. Not one human vessel was even scratched. What? Velcano stared at his screens in shock. That's impossible. Our weapons should have destroyed them completely. Captain Shin's voice came through the communication system again, still perfectly calm. Commander, you seem surprised. Did your intelligence reports not mention what our patrol ships are actually capable of? Before Velcanos could answer, the three human ships began to change. Just like the transformations happening across human space, these vessels revealed their true nature. Weapon ports opened along their hulls, and energy fields that had been hidden suddenly became visible. You see, Captain Shin continued, the Peacekeeper isn't really a patrol ship. It's a dreadnought battleship that we've been calling a patrol ship because it made everyone feel safer. The battle that followed lasted exactly 17 minutes. The human ships moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. They were faster than fighters, but hit harder than the largest battleships. Their weapons cut through alien armor like paper, and their tactics seemed to predict every move the aliens would make. When it was over, 47 alien ships had been completely destroyed. 3 more were badly damaged but still functional. The 3 human ships had not received even a single scratch. This is impossible, Velcanos whispered as his damaged ship limped away. How can 3 ships defeat 50? Captain Shin's final message followed him as he retreated. Commander, you just learned the difference between a species that builds ships to look impressive and a species that builds ships to end wars quickly. Please share this lesson with your friends. News of the disaster spread through the alien coalition like a virus. Military leaders who had been confident just days before now stared at battle reports that made no sense. General Kexhal of the Sirathi studied the data from the battle with growing horror. Their smallest patrol ship has more firepower than our largest battleship, he told his war council. How is this possible? Our spy report said they were peaceful farmers and scientists. Intelligence Chief Mordak pulled up files they had collected on human technology over the centuries. Sir, I think we may have made a terrible mistake. Look at these reports again, but this time assumed that everything the humans told us was a lie. As they re-examined the data, a terrifying picture emerged. Human agricultural equipment was actually military engineering gear that could build fortresses overnight. Their medical research was really advanced weapons development. Their communication satellites were surveillance and targeting systems that have been watching every alien movement for 2,000 years. They've been playing us for fools, General Kexhal realized. While we thought we were spying on them, they were learning everything about us. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Bora Kim was serving aboard the human destroyer Harmony when they encountered a Keth scouting fleet. The Keth were known for their hive-mind intelligence and perfect coordination between their ships. Ma'am, her tactical officer reported, 36 Keth vessels approaching. They're moving in perfect formation. Understood, Lieutenant Bora replied. Begin the education protocol. The Harmony was alone against 36 enemy ships, but Bora felt completely calm. Her ship had been designed by humans who understood that sometimes you had to fight against overwhelming numbers. The Keth attacked with their famous synchronized assault. All 36 ships firing at exactly the same moment with perfect timing. It was a tactic that had never failed them before. The Harmony simply wasn't there when the weapons arrived. The human ship had moved with impossible speed, appearing behind the Keth formation before their hive mind could even process what had happened. In the next 30 seconds, 12 Keth ships were destroyed by weapons that seemed to fire from impossible angles. How? The Keth collective mind screamed through their communication network. How can one ship move like that? Lieutenant Bora's response was educational. Because we didn't design our ships to fight other ships. We designed them to fight things much worse than you, much faster than you, much smarter than you. Compared to what we faced before, you're actually quite easy to defeat. The remaining Keth ships fled in terror, their perfect hive-mind coordination shattered by fear and confusion. Across the galaxy, similar lessons were being taught. The alien coalition was learning that humanity's 2,000 years of peace had not been a sign of weakness. It had been a vacation from being the galaxy's most dangerous predators. And now, the vacation was over. 47 days. That was how long the war lasted from beginning to end. But the alien coalition only realized it was over on day 46, when they woke up to find human ships in orbit around every single one of their homeworlds. Ambassador Veltar stood on the bridge as flagship, staring in disbelief at the massive human fleet that had appeared overnight around his crystal homeworld of Velcara Prime. The ships hung in space like silent metal giants, their weapons pointed down at the planet but not firing. "How?" Veltar whispered. "How did they get past our defenses? We have thousands of ships guarding our worlds." His tactical officer's voice shook as he delivered the report. "Sir, our defensive fleets, they're gone. All of them. We're receiving similar reports from every world in the Coalition. The humans destroyed our entire military in a single coordinated strike." On the Sirathi homeworld, General Kexhal received the same impossible news. Every military installation, every weapons factory, every defensive platform had been eliminated simultaneously across 12 different star systems. The humans had attacked everywhere at once with perfect timing. "This is not possible," Kexhal said, his metal voice crackling with disbelief. "No species can coordinate attacks across such distances. The communications alone would take hours." But Captain Quan O, commanding the human battleship Final Peace in orbit above Sirath Prime, provided the answer when he responded to the aliens' confused broadcasts. "General Kexhal, you are correct that most species cannot coordinate such attacks. But humans have been watching your worlds for 2,000 years. We know the location of every one of your ships, every weapons depot, every leader. We have been planning this operation since before your civilization learned to fly between stars." The scope of humanity's preparation became clear as more reports arrived. The humans had not just defeated the alien military. They had anticipated every possible move, countered every strategy, and eliminated every threat before the aliens even knew they were in danger. On Earth, Admiral Jinho Park stood in the command center, watching displays that showed the positions of human fleets around every major alien world. The operation had gone exactly as planned, with not a single human casualty. "Admiral," reported Commander Shinbeck, "all objectives secured. The alien coalition's military capacity has been reduced to 0. They are requesting permission to surrender." Admiral Park nodded grimly. "Patch me through to all coalition leaders simultaneously." Moments later, his image appeared on screens across 12 different homeworlds. The alien leader saw a human who looked tired and sad, not triumphant. "Leaders of the coalition," Admiral Park began, "this war is over. Your military forces have been eliminated, but your people and your worlds are unharmed. You have 1 hour to agree to unconditional surrender, after which Ambassador Kim will explain the terms of peace." The alien leaders, their pride shattered and their fleets destroyed, had no choice but to agree. The surrender ceremony took place once again in the Great Hall of Nexus Prime Station. But this time, the positions were reversed. The alien coalition leaders sat in the defendant section, while Ambassador Hannah Kim stood at the speaker's podium. The hall was packed with representatives from hundreds of species, all of whom had watched the 47-day war with growing amazement and terror. They had seen the most powerful military alliance in galactic history crushed like insects by a species they thought was peaceful and weak. "Honored delegates," Hannah began, her voice carrying to every corner of the silent hall. 47 days ago, you declared war on humanity. You believed that 2,000 years of peace had made us soft and vulnerable. Today, you learned the truth. She gestured to a holographic display that showed the galaxy before and after the war. The alien coalition's military might, which had been represented by millions of red dots, had simply vanished. You see, peace was never a sign of human weakness. Peace was our gift to you. For 2 millennia, we chose not to dominate this galaxy, even though we could have done so at any time. We chose to explore instead of conquer. We chose to help instead of rule. We chose to protect instead of destroy. Ambassador Veltar, his crystal body now dim and gray with defeat, spoke from the defendant's section. "But why? If you were always this powerful, why did you hide it? Why did you let us believe we were equals?" Hannah's expression grew infinitely sad. "Because we remember what we were like before we chose peace. We remember the wars we fought against beings from other dimensions. We remember facing enemies that could destroy entire star systems. We remember what it felt like to be the most dangerous thing in the universe. She paused, looking around the hall at faces filled with fear and confusion. We became peaceful not because we forgot how to fight, but because we remembered how good we were at it. We built this peaceful galaxy to protect you from us, and to protect us from becoming what we used to be. Dr. Arya Yoon, now serving as humanity's chief scientific advisor, stood to present the new Galactic Accords. These treaties will ensure that this never happens again. Humanity will return to our role of protectors and explorers, but with new safeguards to prevent any species from making the mistake you made. The terms were surprisingly gentle. The coalition worlds will be disarmed but not destroyed. Their people will be protected but monitored. Most importantly, the galaxy would remember why humanity's choice of peace should never be mistaken for weakness. As the ceremony ended, Hannah Kim looked out at the assembled delegates and spoke her final words. We hope that your children will grow up in the peace that you almost destroyed, and we hope that they will be wiser than their parents, so that we never have to remind the galaxy again why we chose to sleep. The greatest war in galactic history was over, and peace had won.